You say you want a quiet life. No chaos, no last-minute emergencies, no emotional roller coasters. You imagine a calm Saturday morning, coffee in hand, sunlight through the window, nothing urgent demanding your attention. Yet the moment that peaceful silence finally arrives, something inside you twitches. You check your phone for bad news. You remember an unfinished task that suddenly feels critical. You replay a conversation and look for hidden problems. Somehow, without meaning to, you turn stillness into tension. Most people assume this is self-sabotage. They call it lack of discipline, fear of success, or just being dramatic. But what if it is none of those things? What if your brain is not trying to ruin your happiness, but trying to protect you? What if the part of you that creates problems during peaceful moments is actually running outdated survival software, written in a time when calm usually meant danger was about to strike? Psychologists call this the upper limit problem. It is the invisible ceiling your mind sets on how much happiness, stability, or ease you are allowed to feel. When life exceeds that limit, when things feel too good, too steady, too quiet, your nervous system interprets it as unsafe, so it lowers you back down. Not because you do not deserve peace, but because your internal thermostat has been set to survive, not to thrive. Picture someone who has been overwhelmed for months. Deadlines, family stress, constant notifications, then finally a free weekend. No plans, no obligations. The first few hours feel amazing. Then restlessness creeps in. The house suddenly feels messy. A minor comment from their partner feels loaded. They pick a fight or invent a project that must be done immediately. By Sunday night, the calm is gone, replaced by familiar tension. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Peace is not a natural state for a nervous system shaped in chronic stress and unpredictability. If your body learned that safety required hypervigilance, then quiet will not feel safe. It will feel suspicious. Until you retrain that wiring, your system will keep choosing chaos, not because you love suffering, but because on a biological level, chaos feels like home. If you grew up or lived for years in constant background stress, your nervous system quietly recalibrated itself. What once felt overwhelming slowly became normal. The tight chest, the racing thoughts, the constant scanning for what could go wrong, all of it blended into your baseline. This is nervous system dysregulation. It happens when prolonged stress reshapes your internal settings so that calm no longer feels neutral, it feels unfamiliar. When problems suddenly disappear, your brain does not celebrate. It gets suspicious. It treats peace like the calm before the storm. For a system trained to anticipate impact, silence is not relief, it is a warning sign. Instead of relaxing, your body ramps up, muscles tense, thoughts accelerate. You start searching for hidden threats because historically, being caught off guard was dangerous. There is also something called familiarity bias. Humans prefer what is predictable, even if it is negative. A chaotic but familiar environment feels safer than a stable but unfamiliar one. If stress has been your constant companion, then peace feels like stepping into unknown territory, and the brain would rather return to a known discomfort than risk an unpredictable comfort. Notice what happens in moments of stillness. You sit down, nothing urgent to do, and suddenly anxiety appears. Your heart beats a little faster. Your stomach tightens. Your mind starts listing everything that could fall apart. Your body interprets the absence of stimulation as a lack of preparation. It confuses safety with vulnerability, as if relaxing means you are about to be blindsided. That is why labeling someone as addicted to drama misses the point. Most people are not chasing chaos for entertainment. They are trying to restore a familiar emotional landscape. When tension rises, it feels controllable. It feels known. Creating or entering conflict becomes a way to regain a sense of predictable control. It is not a love of dysfunction. It is a nervous system trying to return to what it understands. To understand why peace feels uncomfortable, you have to look at dopamine and reward prediction error. Dopamine is not just about pleasure, it is about expectation. Your brain constantly predicts what level of stimulation is coming next. If you are used to constant stress, notifications, deadlines, and emotional spikes, your brain expects high input. When a peaceful moment suddenly arrives, stimulation drops below prediction. That gap creates discomfort, not satisfaction. In neuroscience, this is called reward prediction error. When reality gives you less intensity than expected, dopamine activity dips. For a chronically stimulated brain, calm can register like a loss. Even if nothing is wrong, your chemistry signals that something is missing. That subtle drop can feel like boredom, restlessness, or unease. So the mind looks for a quick way to raise stimulation back to its familiar level. Then there is the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center. It works through predictive coding, constantly scanning for patterns and anticipating danger. If it has been trained in unpredictable environments, it lowers its threshold for alarm. When external noise suddenly decreases, it does not relax. It assumes it has missed something. False alarms increase. You feel on edge, even though there is no visible threat. Cortisol plays a role too. When you live in prolonged stress, your body adapts to elevated stress hormones. Over time, it builds a kind of tolerance. High cortisol becomes the new normal. When stress levels drop, your system can experience a mild withdrawal effect, fatigue, irritability, emptiness. The body craves the chemical intensity it is used to, even if that intensity was damaging. Neuroplasticity locks this pattern in place. The more you rehearse anxiety, the stronger those neural pathways become. They turn into high-speed highways. Meanwhile, pathways for calm and regulation remain underdeveloped, like narrow dirt roads rarely used. From a purely biological standpoint, creating a new problem is efficient. It restores dopamine, reactivates familiar stress chemistry, and brings the system back to its distorted equilibrium. This pattern shows up most clearly in intimate relationships. Everything feels stable, communication is open, affection is consistent. For a moment, you feel deeply connected. Then, almost on cue, you notice something small, a tone of voice, a delayed reply, a harmless comment that suddenly feels loaded. Instead of staying in the warmth of security, you initiate a trivial argument. The conflict restores tension, and tension feels familiar. In the digital world, the same sabotage plays out through doom scrolling. You finally sit down to rest, phone in hand, and instead of enjoying the silence, you flood your nervous system with headlines, outrage, and endless updates. Each swipe injects micro doses of stress. It keeps your brain stimulated and slightly alarmed. Physical stillness is replaced by mental chaos, which feels strangely more comfortable than calm. Hyperproductivity is another socially rewarded version of the same loop. You finish a major goal, clear your inbox, complete the project you worked toward for months. Instead of celebrating or resting, you immediately create a new sense of urgency. You overcommit, you stack tasks, you convince yourself that slowing down equals laziness. In reality, constant busyness protects you from sitting with the unfamiliar weight of completion. Financial self-sabotage follows a similar script. After months of disciplined saving, stability starts to grow. There is finally breathing room. Then impulsive spending appears. A big purchase, a risky investment, unnecessary upgrades. The return to mild scarcity recreates the hustle mindset you know well. The pressure to grind feels safer than the open space of financial security. If you look closely at your own life, you will likely see a pattern. Stability increases, then disruption follows. Peace deepens, then conflict appears. The invitation is not to judge yourself, but to audit your recurring crises. When exactly do they happen? What do they interrupt? If you trace the timeline honestly, you may find that you do not sabotage randomly. You sabotage at the precise moment your life starts to feel truly stable. Peace is not a default setting your brain automatically knows how to handle. It is a capacity, and like any capacity, it must be built. If your nervous system has spent years practicing survival, it will not instantly feel at home in stillness. You develop tolerance for calm the same way you build muscle. Through gradual exposure, small moments of safety, repeated consistently, begin to stretch your threshold for stability. One powerful method is somatic tracking. Instead of reacting to the discomfort that rises in quiet moments, you observe it. You notice the tightness in your chest, the urge to check your phone, the impulse to start a problem. But you do not obey it. You study it with curiosity. By clinically observing the sensation without escaping it, you teach your body that the feeling of calm mixed with anxiety is not an emergency. Over time, this rewires predictive models in the brain. Each peaceful moment you physically survive without disaster sends new data to the amygdala. The world did not collapse. no hidden threat appeared. Gradually, the threat response lowers. The brain updates its expectations. Calm stops registering as suspicious and starts registering as neutral. This shift cannot be forced through logic alone. It requires lived experience. There is also an identity shift that must happen. If you have defined yourself as the strong one, the hustler, the fixer of crises, then peace can feel like an identity loss. Who are you without the struggle? Decoupling self-worth from constant effort means accepting that you are valuable even when you are not fighting something. Stability does not erase your strength. It proves you no longer need to survive to matter. True mental tranquility is not the absence of noise in the world. It is the ability to remain steady when noise disappears. It is the skill of tolerating quiet without filling it, of allowing good moments to last without shrinking them. Peace is not something you stumble into by accident. It is something you learn to hold. And the more you practice holding it, the more natural it becomes.